So what we see in the market and kind of in the space is a number of pitfalls, if you will, with regards to frameworks. So one of the mistakes that we tend to make, or that we tend to see, we being the community at large, is we tend to prioritize frameworks over results. We get so, and when I say we, I'm referring to us, the architects. We get so wrapped up around the framework, be it Zachman or TOGAF or DODAF or what have you. And we want to follow the framework to the letter. The framework says thou shalt build, technology forecast maps, and thou shalt build, operational node interface descriptions. And we have a tendency sometimes to lose sight of the end result, or the objective of the goal. Another mistake that we have seen made, in the space is that we tend to want to create an entirely new framework if we decide, or if an organization decides that a given framework's just not good enough, or it's missing certain pieces, so we want to just throw away the baby with the bathwater, and we're going to create an entirely new framework. And in some cases, maybe this makes sense, although, from our experience, what we find is that more times than not, you're recreating a wheel that's already been created numerous times. Another mistake we see is people confuse framework for methodology. And in most cases, a framework isn't a methodology. So this isn't smart. So what is smart with frameworks? Well, frameworks are intended to provide structure and guidance. And so they provide the guidance as to how or what models should be built. They provide a language and a taxonomy for us to use. And they provide some structure for us. And when I say us, I'm referring to us architects to work within. They should support your objectives, and they should support your methodology. And you should define a methodology that works for you within the context of the framework of your choosing. Furthermore, don't throw away the baby with the bathwater. There's no need to recreate and build your own framework from scratch. Find a framework that makes sense for you and makes sense for your organization, be it Zachman or TOGAF or what have you, and customize it to your needs. And of course, we would highly recommend that you find a tool suite that is easily customizable. And we believe that the corporate model or suite of tools provided by CaseWise is the most easily customizable tool in the market. Quite frankly, and quite clearly, all frameworks are not created equal. It's important to know the differences. And this is actually an area CaseWise consultants can help you. So CaseWise consultants are knowledgeable and skilled in the various frameworks, and we can provide guidance as to the strengths and weaknesses of certain frameworks and where they might be applicable and appropriate and where they might not be. At the end of the day, framework is less important than results. Stay focused on your objectives, stay focused on the results, and quite frankly, shield the business folks from the framework. They really don't care. They just want the information that they need when they need it to help them do what they're trying to accomplish, be it business process redesign, information management, etc. So what's CaseWise Smart with regards to frameworks? Well, as you would expect, we support all the industry frameworks out of the box with our suite of tools. The example you're looking at here is the Zachman framework. But more importantly, we provide views out of the box for the end user, for the information consumer, that's taken outside the context of the framework. You're not locked into a framework when you're providing information to your information consumers. You want to do so in the context of information and terminology that they understand, be it alternative analysis or what have you, not the context of a framework. And again, we think this is CaseWise Smart. So let's take this a step further, and let's talk about MetaModel. Now, to this point, we've talked about bringing clarity to the organization. We've talked about expectations and scope. We've talked about the information consumers and engaging people and engaging the stakeholders. And we've talked about the fact that they're not interested in frameworks. They're not necessarily interested in the models per se. They want information. They want answers to their questions. Well, a critical component of our ability as architects to produce and provide the information to our stakeholders is the underlying meta model that supports our framework, that supports our information. And again, the meta model conversation is for us, the architects. It's not necessarily for the stakeholders. However, there are some mistakes or some common things that we see in the market, in the space, that that you'd be wise to avoid. First and foremost, let's not over-engineer our meta models, and let's not overcomplicate our meta models. We have a tendency to want to create a different object for every concept. So let's give you an example. Let's say we're focused on, or we're trying to build out our business architecture. And we've got a number of folks, we've got a number of maybe architects involved in the process, and we're trying to decide our meta model. And there are folks that say, well, we need to capture our business functions. Okay, that's an object in our meta model. We need to capture our business processes, activities, elementary business. And all these things may have very distinct and different kind of meaning to those individuals. However, we can very quickly let our meta model get completely out of hand. This is not only does it become a waste of time, but in the long run, it's going to hurt us in terms of our ability to do analysis, to produce, that clarity and information. In fact, we may even be making the problem worse. Now, part of the problem is we try to honor everybody's requests. We try to make everybody happy, by capturing their object in the meta model. Another mistake we see is people focus too much on data, on the properties, the data fields. Now, again, this is a very technical conversation, and let me explain to you what I mean by this. This is where we're trying to establish our meta model up front, and we haven't actually gotten into our modeling, our architecture yet, and yet we're spending months, deliberating over what data properties we should include in our meta model. This is wasted time. Cut bait and move forward. You can always add data properties later. So this is not smart. So what is smart? And I've already kind of jumped ahead a little bit. Simplify where possible. Use categories instead of adding new objects. So in the example of your business processes, and as you would expect, this is how the case-wise corporate modeler solution supports this or implements this. Capture your object a single time, such as a business process, and then categorize it according to business functions, maybe sub-processes, sub-functions, what have you. Which feeds to the next one, quite simply, less is more. Reuse objects. Not only are you going to save time up front, but downstream when it's time to run reports and run queries and deliver information to the stakeholders, you're going to have a much better time and you're going to be much more effective and efficient. And again, focus on objects and relationships first. There's always time to add properties. Don't spend large amounts of time debating whether or not there should be, a lapse duration or something on a process object. From a case-wise perspective, we take a very straightforward approach to our meta model. We take kind of a POLDAT approach, which is process, organization, location, application, data, and technology. And these are all fully integrated and related. So from any perspective, say it from my process perspective, I can see the locations of these processes are performed in, the organizations involved in these processes, the applications used, data, technologies, etc. And I can very easily and quickly change my perspective, say, to an application perspective. And again, it's fully extendable where and when it makes sense and fully customizable. Again, we think this is case-wise smart.